Welcome to another episode of Shade and Shit Talking. As always, I'm your host TK, and I thank you for tuning in. Now, just like I talked about on last week, as well as the promo for this week, I will be joined by none other than Brother CJ Lawrence, the creator of Black with No Chaser, the creator of the If They Gun Me Down hashtag, and he will be here to give his thoughts and what he feels about this whole situation as far as the life and death, the tragic death of Nia Wilson, as well as assault on her sister, as well as how the media tried to portray this young lady and dehumanize her even in death. So, without further ado, welcome to the podcast, CJ.
What up, my brother? What's going on with you, man? Thank you so much for having me on the show today. What you're doing has been super dope, man. I listen, I tune in weekly, and man, when you post it online, I share it because you say something in a way that we haven't heard it, man, and I appreciate that. So thank you for having me, man.
No problem, man. I appreciate the love, man, and that's what it's all based off of, love for my people, our people, and
Right.
trying to write our own narratives because as we have seen so many times, they don't give a fuck about how they portray us, So we
Right.
have to take control of that, and we have to get in the forefront and make sure our stories are really told the way they're supposed to be.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with you, man. That was really the premise behind Black with No Chaser to begin with, is to create a vehicle, you know what I'm saying, that allows us to craft our own narratives and tell the stories for us, by us, but also to just create opportunities to amplify other Black voices like your own, so that those stories could be told in different ways, through different voices than perhaps what we had gotten accustomed to hearing them from. Because I know that the way that we tell stories is in a very uncensored and unfiltered way, man. And I think that people appreciate that we don't bullshit them. I think they appreciate us being straight shooters, and I think that right now in the time of life that we're in right now, and this time in history is necessary.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Now, and you said something that really rings true. Like, I've talked to quite a few people who talk to me about Black and No Chase, and they do like the fact that we don't bullshit with them. We don't throw stones and hide our hands, and we definitely don't cower away from anybody, regardless of what who they are and what they are when it comes to doing what we do.
Right.
Now,
Right.
when I was putting this episode together, man, and the main reason that I reached out to you was because I got online one day, man, and after this young lady was killed, and the first thing that I saw wasn't a write up about her life, her aspirations, and her dreams, but it was a picture of her holding what appeared to be a gun, which turned out to be a phone case. This is the
Right.
image they splashed across the screen for so many people to see. And
Right.
first
Right.
thing I thought about was if they gunned me down. So naturally, I reached out to you.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
being that you created this and you have witnessed this firsthand, what was your initial take when you saw it?
Well, bruh, that's a very good question, and I'm glad that you're bringing shedding light on the fact that occurred. I forget which TV station it was that did it. I feel like say
I
that
said
again now.
naturally it was a Fox news station.
Oh wow. Oh, okay. So that just adds fuel to the fire that it was probably that it was clearly racially motivated. So when I saw that same image of Nia Wilson, uh, with what appeared to be a gun, uh, being floated around after she had been brutally murdered, bro, the first thing I thought was whether it was carelessly done, which they later came out to say it was an accident, whether it was carelessly done or intentionally done, our lives don't matter to them, to the extent that they aren't willing to be careful with our lives, even in death, even when they know our deaths aren't justified. Um, and you know, the premise initially of If They Gun Me Down, where we place one picture of ourselves, in a setting that, might be just us out chilling, doing what we do, and the other picture might be us doing something that's an achievement in life, or something that compares to it. And basically what we're trying to say in both of those instances is neither one of these people deserve to die, regardless, right? Both of these people are the same people, and that you can't truly encapture an entire story about a human being through one image. But what you can do is create bias. And what I felt like I saw when I witnessed that, man, that image of Nia Wilson with that phone case that, looked like a gun, uh, was people that didn't care about Nia Wilson as a human being. Didn't care enough to they care more about the story of it
Right.
all, right? And first and foremost, my heart goes out to the Wilson family, to Nia Wilson and to Shea Wilson. But I felt like what they cared about, if they really did miss something so significant as that, then it means that all they cared about was getting this story out fast enough that they didn't give a damn about what pictures of her they were putting out there, and what narrative they were crafting. Although this young girl, 18 years old, had her throat slit, brother. You know what I mean? Like, that's that ain't no everyday shit. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that this man was riding on the train, or preparing to get on the train with a knife capable of doing that type of damage in the first place is significant. Yet the focus was not on what happened to her, but on how she was portrayed to have lived. And it's unfortunate because that's the way that the United States, that America tends to treat Black lives, right? Is that not only in life do we have to justify our living, but in death we have to justify uh, having deserved to live,
Right.
right? And that's that's a hell of a statement to make. That you let me know that it's Fox News now is far less surprising than it would have been before. But you would think that even in this instance, where we know this is not, people don't slit people's throats in self-defense, and because we understand this, um, certainly Fox News, even uh, in its own racist ass ways, should have been capable of recognizing that this is an instance where the situation must be handled with sensitivity. Nia Wilson was an 18-year-old girl, man. She was 18 years old. She certainly didn't deserve to die at all, but especially not the way that she did. And so, because of that, uh, I felt like this was an instance where her character should not have been assassinated. Um, that people should have handled her life with care. That whomever was in that room, somebody should have spoke up and said, "Wait a minute, this isn't right." Where are the Black voices in the room that are willing to speak up on something like this? And if they saw it and nobody said anything prior to that shit going on the news, man, then we're dealing with clearly a deeper problem uh, than just um, the everyday type of racism in America. We're dealing with instances where you have basically um, people already justifying our murders when we're killed by police, but now attempting to make sense of our being killed by white terrorists. You know?
Now is that last line? It's interesting that you use the term white terrorists, which them motherfuckers refuse to use that term. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
I have a prime example of that train of thought. Now you remember
Mm-hmm.
last year, uh, the Austin bomber, Mark Anthony Condit, right? Now,
Right. Mm-hmm.
nigga, if that ain't domestic terrorism, I don't know what is.
Right.
Now, what two things
Right.
about that case that really just blew my mind was when they, well, three things actually. When they caught him, they immediately described this dude as a very challenged young man who was lashing out. Now, nigga, I lashed
Mm-hmm.
out as a team and I ain't blow shit up. I might have cussed,
Mm-hmm.
know, you know, talked under my breath. My mama told me something, but nigga, I didn't go around bombing people, right? And
Right.
they even talked about how he was smart and he was introverted and all that other shit. But the
Mm-hmm.
really sick part about it was the first person that he killed was a black man, and they
Mm-hmm.
considered that black dude a suspect in his own death. They
Mm.
immediately pivoted to he was trying to create a bomb, and it went off and he killed himself. First of all, we don't fuck with bombs like that,
Right.
And the
Right.
third thing that was fucked up about that case was when they did catch him and plastered his face across the news outlets, it was a picture of him as a 15, 16-year-old kid, clean cut, smiling, when actuality, he was, he looked crazy when they caught him.
Right.
They
Right.
didn't post that
No,
his
man.
that bluff was called.
Yeah. Yeah. I you know what, brother? Like it's it's exactly that, man. It's that what we have seen constantly, and one of the reasons that I created If They Gun Me Down in the first place, is what we have seen is that killers, white killers, lives are handled with care, even when the story is being told after they're caught, versus black victims' lives are handled in a frivolous manner, in the most careless of manners when it comes to talking about their lives. Because to juxtapose a story against the story that you just told about the Austin bomber, the first thing they said about Mike Brown was in the New York Times was he was no angel.
Exactly.
Right? He was no angel. And yet you got all of these killers, the Tyler Clementes of the world that shot up one of the schools or one of the places, one of these mass shooters, Dylan Roof. They literally try to understand these white terrorists. But before even giving Nia Wilson hadn't been dead a day when that picture came out, man.
Right.
I mean, literally, her father was still on TV crying about needing answers. This man had the the killer, and I forget the killer's name, hadn't even been found yet, brother. And it was already images of Nia Wilson being put out there to bias the mental capacities of people, because when they see images like that, um it triggers them, and it shouldn't, because it certainly shouldn't trigger the Fox News audience to see anybody with a gun.
Right.
However, they tend to truly only believe in the right to bear arms when it's the white that bear arms,
Exactly.
right? So since that's the case, there's really nothing wrong with an image of Nia Wilson, whether it was a phone case or a real gun. There should be nothing wrong with that if your rationale is that we all have the right to bear arms. However, if that's the image that you choose to use of someone in the telling of their story, then and certainly when their victimhood is what should be being highlighted because of the way that they died and the fact that they died, um, then you understand not only the magnitude of the images that you utilize, but the temperament of your audience with regard to how you disseminate that information. And so that's why my opinion is that, that is intentional, whether it was careless or not. Fuck that weak ass apology.
Right.
It's intentional anytime you aren't deliberate in how you handle someone's life with care. If you are careless in how you handle Nia Wilson's life, then it's still intentional, because you would have handled Dylan Roof's life with intent. You would have handled, you would have got his motherfucker a hamburger,
Right.
We see the justice system and the media outlets handling these people's lives, these white folks' lives, with care. And so it is an outrage, and it is a reason why we challenge media, mass media as a whole, with if they gun me down, and force them to talk about themselves in a way that they had never done before, and turn the mirror on themselves, and begin to ask themselves questions about why you do what you do, but also recognizing what it is what you do, so that people would call it out.
Yeah. So, like, you said something a couple minutes ago, and that thought, like, races through my mind every single incident that we see. And the truth is that white killers receive more sympathy than black victims. That's not up for debate. And when putting this together, I go and research whatever I talk about, because when I put information out to our people, I want it to be correct information. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to have you looking stupid, believing the wrong things that I've said. And
right.
Like you mentioned Dylan Roof. This motherfucker killed 9 people, and the first thing they said was that he was a quiet loner who simply got caught up in internet evil. You got Nicholas Cruz, who killed those 17 kids at Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida. First thing they talked about was that he was an orphan with a troubled past. Look at 12-year-old Tamir Rice, who was murdered by Cleveland police in less than 2 seconds. The first thing they did was reported on his father's criminal history. And,
right, bro.
And I'll go back even further. And I hate to use him for an example, because this nigga is an embarrassment to all black people. But O.J. Simpson, a lot of people, too young to remember and don't remember this, but on the cover of Time, I believe it was the Time of Newsweek, they had the picture of O.J. Simpson, where they altered it, made it darker, and made it more menacing than what the actual picture was.
Right.
So this whole narrative of demeaning black people in the media to paint a certain narrative of them has been going on long before. What's the God, I can't remember the movie that came out a long time ago. But they painted the Klan as heroes riding in with the white sheets on the white horse, and painted black people as the savage. You know the movie I'm talking about? I can't remember.
Birth of a Nation. Birth of a Nation.
Birth of a Nation.
Or is it right? Birth of a Nation. Not the one with Nat Turner.
But they.
But yeah.
So this has been going on a long fucking time, and
absolutely,
people should be surprised. I was talking to somebody the other day about it, and this person said to me that it doesn't matter, what they paint us as. It shouldn't affect how we feel about ourselves. And I explained to them, it doesn't affect how I feel about me or how I feel about you, but it does create a problem because it paints us in a negative light in the world that I got to go out into every day. My son, my daughter, into every day. So we automatically lose the benefit of the doubt, whether we committing the
Right.
crime or we just sitting in our goddamn driveway minding our business. And it's problematic.
Right. Right. So absolutely. So this is the thing, man, and I feel what the person is saying, but the reality is I, as a black man, don't give a fuck what a white person has to think about me when it comes to me on a daily basis, as far as how I live. I'm not trying to do anything for the purpose of having them think anything, right? However, at the same time, at the same time, from an external standpoint, we understand that everything that they're being fed feeds their fears, right? Which means it's a little easier for them to pull a trigger on us when when whether they be a police officer pulling up at a routine traffic stop and you Philando Castile, um, you know, or you're Alton Sterling selling CDs. What we have to understand is that what they think matters not because we care what they think, but because what they are fed and what they think and what they believe about us tends to perpetuate the notion that we are dangerous, and that because we are dangerous, the trigger finger gets a little more itchy than it than it may have gotten if they didn't have these notions about us, right? So when we have these conversations, when we talk about if they gun me down and things like that, when we talk about how OJ is characterized, how even making something darker makes it scarier, like let's talk about that for a second. Making OJ darker makes him more
Right.
menacing in the eyes of mass media, and it was done for that purpose. But the underlying issue there is what's being said is that the darker you are, the scarier you are.
Right.
Right? Which is a conversation in and of itself when that's the case. But you got OJ, like you said, you got Tamir Rice, who was a 12-year-old boy that they called a grown man. They called him a grown man and didn't let him live. But point, I counted, it was less than 2 seconds, like 1.4 seconds. They shot him down in 1.4 seconds. And the phone call that came in on dispatch said, I believe it's a toy. They shot him down in less than 2 seconds. They talked about the lie. They talked about his family. They talked about his mom and his dad, and his dad's criminal history, which ain't got shit to do with nothing, bro.
Exactly.
Um, they literally go find the skeletons in our closets and sometimes turn shit that ain't even nothing into skeletons, like phone cases. You know, um, so it's unfortunate in that way, but literally this was an 18-year-old girl who happened to be coming back from her boyfriend who had just drowned a few days earlier, candlelight vigil. So was my understanding. It was either the anniversary of it or it had just happened as far as him
It had
passing.
it had just happened like 3 or 4 days
Okay.
beforehand.
Which is so this is doubly sad,
Right.
right? Because literally she's going to celebrate the life of, her teenage love. And she winds up losing her own life that same night. Like that's that's a whole nother level of tragedy, man. Like when like and that's not even part of the story that was being told, Like that's part of the story that black folks had to go
Right.
find and share and put out there. And it's unfortunate that we have to literally combat the narratives that is being crafted and spun in the way that they are. But we have to do that because it's not about proving to white people or receiving acceptance from white people as much as it is about um, ensuring that the truth is told. Uh, but beyond the truth being told, uh, diffusing the notion that we should be feared because of our blackness,
Right.
right? And that we are inherently dangerous because of it, and that um it's the weaponization of our blackness, man. Um and people with guns having fear of us without them because of our melanin, you
Right.
know?
Now, that sentence you just said, the weaponization of our blackness. And you know, that's why I love Black with No Chaser so much. Is because,
Mm-hmm.
we are daily 24/7, you know, combating that bullshit narrative of, you know, what we are as opposed to who we really are, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
and,
Mm-hmm.
and that's and a lot of people, appreciate what we do and how we do it and why we do it. And
Mm-hmm.
with that being said, about Black with No Chaser, what do you feel is the next step, the progression, that for Black with No Chaser, as far as how we interact and how we deal with the diaspora and the colonizers?
Man, that's excellent question. And honestly, man, it's a lot on the horizon as far as Black with No Chaser is concerned. Because Black with No Chaser, while we tap into the digital world, man, our goal is to not only tap into the digital world and create and amplify Black voices and Black causes, but it's also to to get our boots on the ground at some point and really get into the meat of handling and creating systems that are sustainable and transferable from generation to generation as far as Black people are concerned. Um, we want to do real work in addition to talking the talk. We want to walk the walk as well, because we think it's important and it's critical to our people to have both an arm of communication as well as a socioeconomic arm, including what we're doing with MMIG, right? With Melanated Millennial Investment Group. But in addition to that, one of the first things we're focusing on is ensuring that we get our website um, done. So that's coming soon. Blackwithnochaser.com is ours. We're going to make it happen, and it's going to be man, we got some really exciting ideas about it. Like, I don't wanna get too deep into how how incredibly imaginative our website is going to be. But what I can say is that it will even enhance the environment that we have right now with our Facebook page. It'll incorporate much of what we do already in that regard. But what it'll also allow us to do is have the ability to tell our story in a very unfiltered way, where we understand, me personally, I certainly understand having you know been on Facebook and lost my Facebook page as a result of some of the things that we've written, and understanding that Facebook has rules that maybe they tightened up since the whole thing with the Russia stuff and everything.
Right.
um, is we need the ability to have a freedom of our blackness that at times we may not have on Facebook. There are certain things that we can't do. Like there was a publication, there was a video the other week shared via Facebook where this white man just pulled up on this girl and was, literally driving on the side of the highway next to her. She didn't even know this man, calling her a nigger, and Facebook wouldn't even let her put what he called her in the caption.
Hmm.
Like, they deleted her video of this man calling her a nigger, um, because she had nigger in the caption and spelled out the word. But the reality is that that's exactly what happened.
Right.
So to me, I feel like we need a space where you can tell your story the way it was and not the way people are okay hearing it or receiving it, because Facebook ain't protecting Black people by deleting her video. They really are injuring her. in that instance. And but ultimately, man, what we want to do, we got some things coming up. We gonna sit down and make some big plans with regard to how we want to interject ourselves into actual policy, um, into economics, into really into law. Um, we really want to into media. We want to tell stories across the board, and we want to do something that hasn't been done in the way that that we want to do it. Um, we're trying to tell stories differently. Um, we're trying to really get beyond um, what media is in its current form. Like there's a reason why why we laugh on Black with No Chaser, why we express uh, passion on Black with No Chaser, why it's okay to cry on Black with No Chaser. Like we literally um, we run through the gamut of emotions um, on Black with No Chaser as far as how we approach it on a daily basis, because literally that's the range of emotions that we as Black people living in America or throughout the diaspora experience on a daily basis, man. It's really something that um, I feel that the Black experience is a incredibly unique one, um, and it's one that is often underserved or appropriated. And so what we're trying to do is bring unadulterated Blackness, man. And we're trying to constantly find ways to do it. I'm excited about the team that we built, man. It's so many people that are incredibly talented, yourself included, brother, that really are just touching the tip of the iceberg as far as what I believe we're capable of and what we've have exhibited ourselves to be capable of. But when you got a team of basically, bro, you know what it's like in the room, man. We got like I don't know if to call them the X-Men, the Avengers, or the Justice League, but we got some dope ass people, and and I know that the people are driven to do um the work attached because we've been doing it for years, man. Like I was in Sanford, Florida when Trayvon died. I was in Ferguson when Mike Brown died. I was in Jenna for the Jenna Six. Like we go to those places. We activate people locally. We organize locally. So this wasn't just like a, oh, let's ride this wave type thing. This was a this is the next natural step in our progression as far as growth is concerned, and amplifying our voices and using our voices for the good of our people. Um, Facebook is an incredible platform. It allows us to reach almost 9 million people a month, which is tremendous. Um, but it's also a limiting platform when it comes to how Black people can speak about issues freely. I don't know if that's intentional or that's a part of its algorithm, but what I know is that um, while it's not our goal to compete with Facebook, our goal is to ensure that we tell stories for Black people and engage Black people and allow Black people to speak freely in a manner that I don't think has been done with any other platform. And we intend to have a platform that's capable of doing that and making people feel at home.
And me personally, man, I can't wait until we actually take off and do a lot of those things. I'm excited about it. A lot of people are
Mm-hmm.
excited about it, and it. I'm ready to work, just like I know you ready to work, like Michaela ready to work. Tyson,
Mm-hmm.
Marv, Leslie, the whole team.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who I
Mm-hmm.
didn't mention, um, excuse my me not mentioning, but we have so many
Mm-hmm.
talented people that's behind this 100% willing and able, and just looking forward to the challenges ahead, the growth ahead, and you know, I don't know, man. It's I, I was honored to be a part of,
Mm-hmm.
when I got on. So and it, unlocked things in me that I didn't have before. So, I'm excited about it.
Man, I'm. Let me tell you like this, brother. I'm honored to have you as a part of this team. Um, your work ethic is second to none, brother. Um, what you're doing is important, is critical, and I know, like without a shadow of a doubt, I have no doubt in my mind that your voice is going to be one that people come to recognize as an important and critical one, uh, but also one with a sense of humor, uh, one that cuts straight through the bullshit and gets to the heart of the matter at hand. Um, like it's going to be one that people are going to come to know and respect. Uh, and like I'm so happy to just be even a small part of that because what it says to me is that all you needed was the platform, all you needed was the opportunity, and I'm glad that Black with No Chaser has created an environment to give you that and has created an environment for others to have that. I hope that others take the reins and run with it the way that I've seen you do it, because that's the way that we're going to begin to do the work that needs to be done. And there, like you said, there's so many talented people that I believe that I've seen start to flourish and find their own voices and find their own way in this, that I am sometimes I shudder to think about what it's going to become. Brother, we ain't even been doing this a year. We haven't been doing this a year. And we already tapping 9 million people a month. You know, I can only imagine what we're going to be doing uh down the road when we find our sea legs. Man, we still walking on baby legs right now.
Right.
So I know that what we are doing is sincere and from the heart. I truly saw that when we thought when Facebook suspended our page or deactivated our page for a second. When I saw how much it mattered to everybody else, like I felt that. You know what I mean? I felt that because I'm like, yo, this is not a one man show. This isn't one person hoping for this in a different way than everybody else is. We all are pushing for this. We all are invested. And every day that we do something with Black with No Chaser, we do it with our hearts. And I think that's what makes us different. That's no knock on anybody else that's out there doing it. I believe they're doing it for the right reasons. But what we're doing, I believe, is just different. And I think that the audience feels the difference. Like we see it in the comments that people leave us or in the messages that we get. And so man, I just appreciate the opportunity to be on your show. Um I appreciate what you're bringing to the table. And you know, I appreciate that value Nia Wilson's life, women's lives enough to speak up for them and be a voice for them. I think that's something that's critical for us as Black men to continue doing. Um, we need to stand up for our sisters in a way that makes it clear to them that we're down to ride for them in the way that they ride for us on a regular basis, and that you know we stand at attention and ready, prepared to fight with our lives for them. And so I'm appreciative of you um, for creating a platform for exactly that. And I'm looking forward to what we're gonna do next, bro.
Same here, man. And I I appreciate everything you just said, man. It's an honor for me as well. And like you, I'm ready to do the work. Now, before I let you get out of here, man, I know you got
Mhm.
a lot going, but just tell everybody. And I know I said every episode, but just give people the contact information where they can find us on every platform.
Okay, cool. So you can find Black with No Chaser on Facebook at Black with No Chaser. We have a page. You'll see it. It's about 120,000 people following the page, 200,000, my bad, following the page. You'll be able to find it. It'll be a image of Black with No Chaser, shot glass, looking like the Public Enemy logo. We love Public Enemy, and after Facebook took us down, we kind of felt like Public Enemy #1. We knew we were on their radar in a way that we had not realized before. You can also find us on Instagram at Black with No Chaser. Instagram at Black with No Chaser. Our Instagram is starting to grow incredibly, man. We hope y'all come and support that. It's we do some unique posts that are distinguishable from what we do on Facebook, on Instagram. So we on Instagram and IGTV. This podcast is gonna go up on IGTV, and we're also on Twitter. Twitter is a little bit different. It's at Black No Chaser. At Black No Chaser. The name is too long to put Black with No Chaser on Twitter, so it's just at Black No Chaser. And we want to grow our Twitter. We're really just starting to get that really active, and so we want people to come and follow us on all of those. We're also going to be on YouTube with Black with No Chaser TV, and we're going to probably be at some point on all of the platforms. But as of right now, those are the main places where you can find us. And we're going to keep on pumping out that work, bro. We're going to keep on doing what we do. So someone's knocking on my door now. I guess that's time for me to wrap up. But I appreciate it again, bro. And if you need anything else from me at any time, just let me know. And I'll be happy to
No
speak
doubt.
up.
I appreciate you stopping by, man. And hopefully the next time, you on, it won't have to be about something as serious as what we discussed today. Next time we can actually,
Absolutely.
throw shade and do some shit talking. So
Absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to doing that, man,
right.
like we usually do.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr.
Yeah.
CJ Lawrence, I appreciate you stopping by, man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you for having me. You have a good one.
This week I'm gonna be joined by a special guest, my boy, my cousin, Mr. James Betts. What's happening, dog?
What's going on, man? What's going on?
Man, just out here, just putting it down, man. Trying to keep everybody informed and enlightened, about what's going on in America here and now. And speaking of what's going on, these last 2 or 3 weeks, man, I've been seeing you on Facebook doing your thing, shining light on the state of Mississippi as far as rappers and singers and entrepreneurs go with the project called Sip Culture. So, if you would, just enlighten the listeners about exactly what Sip Culture is and what you are trying to achieve with it.
Well, first and foremost, I gotta give it back to you, man. I like what you're doing on your platform, man. It's just like how you just shed light on the social and basically everything. You know what I'm saying? But thank you for this opportunity.
Appreciate it.
Just to shed light on my platform. But yeah, basically, Sip Culture is a platform that I created like spur of the moment. It was just like this thing where we have talent here, or we have very special people with special skill sets or anything. And Mississippi is, and I'm sorry if you hear a train in the background, sitting there waiting on the train, but Mississippi, even though we have a lot of great talent and a lot of great people and a rich culture, we tend to be overlooked a lot. Like, when people think of Mississippi, they still think of back in the 50s and 60s, and they think we're not as advanced as we should
Right.
be. And stats show that, we still have some developing to do within what the progression that we need to have within our state. However, we do have a lot of rich culture here, and I wanted my platform to be like an eye for the world to see beyond the stereotypical lens. Like I wanted the people to see us and like say, wow, these people have, you know, an immense amount of talent, or these people are really doing things on the economic side, or, you know, the political side, or whatever the case may be. If we're doing something within our culture, within our community, and I wanted to shed light on that to where people can see us beyond like the stereotypical, you know, points that everybody else looks at. So I wanted to shed light on that and do it that way.
Right. You know, now, like, you know, I was born and raised in Mississippi, and you know, I've traveled quite a few places, and when I let somebody know, hey, I'm from Mississippi, I get the same reaction. You know, whether it's I was in California, I was in Detroit, whether I was in Chicago, the first
Right.
reaction that I would get is something relating to, you know, slavery. I've had people ask me like, don't they still practice slavery down there? You know, something to that nature. And
Right.
you know, at first I used to get mad about it, but now, you know, I just chalk it up to one, their ignorance, and two, you know, be quite honest, you know, we don't get portrayed in the media how we should, and a lot of that has to do with leadership involved, like Phil Bryant, and you know, him being a part of the Sons of the Confederate Veterans, and this and that. So, you know, when I saw what you were doing, and I like the fact that you didn't just limit it to rappers, you know what I'm saying, or singers. You
Right.
know, you made the call out to entrepreneurs. Like I noticed your promo for your show coming up this Sunday night, which everybody catch at 8 p.m. this Sunday night on Facebook Live on the Sip Culture. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
you have, and I can't remember her name. Apologies, but you have a cosmetologist, you know, who has her own business
Yeah.
that you're featuring.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Her name is Lakeisha Kindred, and she's a cosmetologist with a business. Her business is called Exquisite Extensions, and I noticed her story, and this is like basically in a nutshell of what I'm doing. Like, you know, her story. People would look at her or look at an individual that I'm highlighting before the platform. They would look at them and say, "Oh, she's a person that does hair, or he's a person that raps, or he's a person that sings, or she's a person that sings." Like you always associate their name with what they do,
Right.
but you don't know why they're doing what they're doing or the story that they have. Um, I had a guest on. Well, I, this is my seventh episode, and I've had guests on before where people would, you know, they say, "Okay, I know him. He does music," but once I finished conversing with them, people would get an understanding of what they do as far as like, oh, I see why he's doing music. Oh, I didn't know he was homeless. I didn't know this guy had a kidney transplant at the age of 7, and he was not supposed to be living.
Filthy.
Yeah, filthy. He was saying like, oh yeah, like they were about to pull the plug on him, and some lady got in a car crash and she died, and it was like last minute where she gave him her kidney. And I was looking at that, I was like, that's amazing. Like some people just rap just to be rapping, but other people have their, what we call in the entrepreneur world, your why. Like, why are you doing what you do? Like, of course your music is appealing, or your music is dope, is nice, but why are you doing what you do? And like some of these people have stories that need to be heard, or like the journey. I'm a huge Rocky fan, and of course the fight scenes with Apollo and Drago are amazing. But I love the story that leads up to it, and this I'm a huge storyline fan when I'm watching movies, and I'm like, it makes the epic scene that more potent, that more, you know, epic, because you see the story that led up to it, or the pursuit of happiness, you know, things like that. There's a movie called Warrior that I watched. Man, it was like the storyline leading up to it. It just people, when they get an inside view of the individual behind the talent, that makes them appreciate it more. Like, you have artists, you may have an artist like Drake. A lot of people like Drake, a lot of people may not like Drake, or whatever the case may be. But for the people who are fans, if Drake is like he was going to have dinner with Lala, they and people like, oh, what's going on? Like, they like to see behind the scenes stuff. Like, of course they want the music, but
Right.
if they're a fan of the individual, they like to see the things like, oh, he's shopping at this place, or oh, I didn't know he was, going through that certain thing. And it kind of gives you that, that insight of what they're going through. So I like to not only shed light on what they do and their craft, but why they're doing what they're doing. I think that's very important. And I wanted to do it in all aspects, not just music, like you were saying earlier, but more so like with anything, somebody's doing something. So yeah, I love the come up story, or like the story in general.
Right. And while I was watching some of the episodes, I kind of got like a behind the scenes feel, like the show VH1 did, and kind of like an unsung feel, without them
Yeah,
having to fall off and fall out of sight, only for you to just start talking about them to bring them back into people's perspective. Um,
right.
and I find it uh, interesting, like each one of these stories. Because like say for Filthy, for instance, I've been knowing him since he was that 7, 8 year old dude. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
a lot of the stuff that he talked about, I was sitting back like, damn, I didn't know that, or damn, how did I miss that? And I'm pretty sure it goes that way for a lot of people. Like the guy you had on last time, Mike Caesar, talking about the mental aspect, and
Yeah.
that part hit home, because we did the we did the mental health awareness podcast on our Black with No Chaser platform, and you know
Right.
that conversation you had with him, to me, kind of like validated some of the stuff that we talked about on our platform, as far as how mental health affects people, and the ramifications of it. So
Right.
just looking at what you did, and what you're doing, rather, that's why I hit you up immediately, like, man, you got something here that a lot of people need to hear, because it's more than just music. It's life.
Absolutely.
Hence the name. That's why I like the name, Sip Culture.
Right. And I mean, it's everything. Like, life has all these puzzle pieces that we try to just figure out what this thing called life. And we have some special people that we encounter every time, when we go through life, and we're like, man, how did they get to what they're doing? Or I bet sometimes people have this preconceived notion, like, I bet it was easy for him. I bet what he's doing, I bet everything was given to him or given to her, not knowing what they had to go through behind the scenes. And I think it's really important. Um, it's like a staple on like labeling somebody before getting to know them. Like, if you see somebody with, like, they look that they lost a lot of weight, and they're like, their skin is looking a certain way. People in society, they have this thing where they just look at somebody and they say, he's probably on drugs, not knowing that he may have like an internal illness or something like that. Like, they just look at somebody and just go off of what they see on the surface. And like, I like to get on the inside, or give people insight on what's going on, especially if I don't know anything. I'm the type of person that would research or do something before even just making an assessment of what I see on the surface. Like, I'm gonna research, because I think it's really important. Or if somebody tells me their story, I get a better understanding. And even on Mike Caesar's on his episode, there were some people that disagreed with his perspective, and I love that, because it opens up dialogue to where people can discuss certain things without having to resort to any kind of violence or any tension or anything like that.
Right.
And I like that. it's kind of looking at, different religions. Somebody may believe in this system, somebody may believe in this over here. But if you look at it like, okay, maybe I don't agree with what he's doing on that side, but I understand why. Like, understanding is one of those keys. Like, if I see somebody worshiping a cow and that person tells me why they're worshiping a cow, and then, okay, now I understand. I still wouldn't do it, but I understand. And then somebody else walks by and say, look at that guy worshiping the cow. Now I have a better insight of why he's doing it. I can inform him on that person that just walked up. I can inform him on why that person's doing what they're doing, even though I don't agree with it. Because now I understand. You look at life from a different perspective now that you have basically a nice understanding of what's going on. So that's why I like to give that insight. You know what I'm saying? So
Right. And we've talked a lot before. I always tell you, man, the best thing that two people could have is an understanding.
yes.
But with that being said, I still don't understand that dude worshiping Benedict Orange.
That was crazy.
I don't give a fuck what he say. Ain't no understanding with that.
I couldn't even understand that either.
That's crazy as hell within itself. Now, I know you're busy. I know you got things going right now. So before I let you go, man, just take a quick second to all your information out, about the show, where they can find you, when it comes on, and all of that.
On Facebook, I'm James Betts, but I do have a page where it's called The Sip Culture. The Sip Culture. You just go in there and like it, follow it, have all the content there. And Instagram, the Sip Culture. Also, I have a Twitter account, The Sip Culture, The Sip Culture on everything. And you can find all the latest content there. It's live on Facebook, where I interview these talents or these individuals every Sunday at 8 p.m. But I'm doing a significant move. I'm going to move it to Tuesdays during football season, because I know football season is, they're going to be on football on Sundays. So I figured Tuesday was a neutral day to move. So Tuesdays during football season, it will be on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. We will highlight, and it's once a week. We will highlight these individuals and shed light on them accordingly. So yes, but for now it's at 8 p.m. We have this episode coming up 8 p.m. with Miss Lakeisha Kindred, a well-known cosmetologist around the city of Hattiesburg, at 8 p.m. Don't miss it. It's gonna be some good stuff, man. So y'all check that out. Like I said, The Sip Culture on everything, and I'm James Betts on Facebook. So.
That's Sip with two P's.
Sip with two P's. Yes, sometimes.
I ain't calling people ignorant, but some people just, if you don't know, you don't know, right?
Right.
But man, as always, it's a pleasure talking to you. Even though you are a cheating ass Pats fan and a Tom Brady apologizer.
Oh man.
It's still all love. And we have a couple things that we've talked about working on that hopefully comes to fruition real soon. And
absolutely.
It's always a pleasure, chopping it up with you, man. And like I said before, I like what you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing. Being a Mississippian myself, knowing that it's talent there, whether it's, singing, dancing, whatever, business wise, knowing that it's talent there, knowing that there's a platform to expose the rest of the world to this talent, I'm very appreciative. Right. So,
man,
best of luck to everything you're doing. Of course, I'll be here to help as much as I can. And I hope that this becomes a regular visit on the Shade and Shit Talking podcast.
Oh, absolutely. I got to come back, man. It's a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things that we can, shed light on, or even like just discuss, and in an intellectual manner, in a humorous manner, in any aspect. And I love the show, man. Like Shade and Shit Talking, man. Like y'all gotta listen to this podcast, man. This podcast it gives you a variety of different things. It informs you, you know, it gives you like that you could laugh, you could just feel something, you know. You don't want to just go on and you don't want to listen to something and not get anything from it. But this platform, Shade and Shit Talking, you're gonna get everything. So but yeah, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it for just having me on the show and just shedding light on what I'm doing. And hey, man, I got to come back.
No doubt. So, quick reminder again, that's the Sip Culture, Sip with 2 P's, this Sunday night. Facebook Live, James Betts. Everybody tune in. Appreciate you, bro.
No problem, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gather around for this week's episode of Colonizing Nonsense. Now, my first incident of colonizing nonsense starts me off in Columbus, Ohio. A racist Columbus businessman follows a black man home and calls him a nigger. You what? This Columbus man, Charles Lovett, posted a video on Facebook, which we also posted on the Black with No Chaser page. Like and follow, by the way. Well, it showed an unarmed white man who actually followed him home from the freeway, harassing him about a disagreement on the road while repeatedly calling him a nigger. Now, this man, who happens to be the owner of Uriah's Heating, Cooling, and Refrigeration, and he was so bold and brazen about it that he was in the company truck, just didn't give a fuck. But anyway, he approached this man and basically at the end he said, and I quote, "I just want to let you know what a nigger you are." You what? Wow. Wow. Of course, after the internet got on his ass, he issued one of those usual half-ass apologies, bullshit apologies. He even referenced the fact that he's been serving and helping black people for years. No, bitch. You've been taking black people's money while at the same time hating their fucking guts. But that's the usual. We all know this. Anyways, one of the people who saw the video from my page, she contacted, repeatedly emailed the BBB about what this man was doing, and lo and behold, the BBB has suspended his, I guess, his association. They've made notice of what happened. So congrats, dickhead. Your business is about to go into the shitter, which it deserves to, and you can go straight to hell. So our next incident of colonizing nonsense takes us to Washington, D.C. and the alt-White House. Now, we've all heard and we've seen on television that Michael Cohen, you know, Benedict Orange's attorney, has decided to turn state, and he's giving up all the info. Well, Benedict's current attorney, former mayor of New York City, Rudy Giuliani, had this to say about Cohen, and I quote, "My client's longtime lawyer and confidant, Michael Cohen, is not credible because he has spent so many years lying on behalf of my client, who is credible." Nigga. So you just sat here and said that this dude is a liar because he was instructed to lie by a liar who happens to be credible. Man, first of all, Benedict Orange lies to the American people on average of 6 times a day. So how the fuck is he credible? How the fuck is this pussy grabbing, philandering, multiple rape accused, sexual misconduct accused, the list goes on and on to describe how this bitch is not credible. So anyway, Rudy Giuliani, I think you should retire and just go live the rest of your life out because you have lost your goddamn mind. My final colonizing nonsense well, I don't know where she is, but it's a post that we posted on the Black with No Chaser page, and it shows this white girl. She's sucking on some type of, I don't know, cup or whatever it is, in order for her to have fuller lips. What in the Kylie Jenner bullshit is this? Now, this it amazes me that they go through these lengths to imitate the same women that they denigrate. I mean, they dog black women about their asses, which they go get ass shots and butt injections and fake asses. They talk about their hips. They talk about their full lips. Now they're getting Botox and fillers and doing this bullshit. They talk about their hair, but then they go and get box braids and all of this and claim it as their own. I mean, they are literally gentrifying the black woman while simultaneously shitting on her. And if that ain't colonizing at its goddamn finest, I don't know what it is. But anyway, if you get a chance, go check out this video on Black with No Chaser. She's sucking on this thing to the point where her lips are cracked and starting to bleed, which she deserves it for being ignorant as fuck anyway. But it's outrageous. Like, you motherfuckers need to come up with your own shit and live your own goddamn life and leave us and our culture and the things that we do the fuck alone.
Don't stop, pop that pussy, let me see your doo-doo brand.
This week's history and hip-hop moment brings us to everybody's favorite uncle, Uncle Luke. On July 25th, 1986, the 2 Live Crew debuted with their album, Is What We Are. With the huge underground classics, We Want Some Pussy and Throw That D. Now, through word of mouth, it became very, very popular and soon became certified gold. But it did have its fair share of controversy. In the state of Florida, it was deemed obscene, and one store clerk was charged with felony corruption of a minor for selling it to a 14-year-old, in which the clerk was later acquitted. God damn. Everybody know Uncle Luke, Miami-based sound, and what they did with the game. And if you less than 36 years old, there's a high probability that your mama was a Luke dancer. Also, in hip-hop news, this summer, Lauryn Hill embarked on the 20th anniversary for her epic masterpiece, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. And surprise, surprise, she has canceled and postponed multiple shows due to unforeseen production issues, she say. Now, she has angered thousands of fans with her near-constant tardiness, abrupt cancellations, and erratic performances where she has been known to berate sound techs as well as her band. Now, she says she don't give a damn if her fans ready or not, she ain't coming. And by now, all you niggas should know the score. Also, U.S. Marshals has arrested or charged 4 individuals for the murder of XXXTentacion, Robert Big Rob Allen, 22 years old, Michael Boatwright, 22 years old, Dedrick Williams, 22 years old, and the 4th suspect who's still on the run, Trayvon Newsom, is 20 years old, and X himself was only a 20-year-old kid. Now, I don't give a damn what he did, beforehand leading up to his murder, but this is a sad situation because not only is 1 person dead, but 5 families have lost 5 young men who could have been something. Finally, from my boy E-Man at E-Man's Movie Reviews, he has a nice review out on the new Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise featuring Ving Rhames, so make sure you go check it out, and I will holler at you next week with another hip-hop and history moment. With the start of training camps this past Thursday, the wait is officially over. The NFL season is upon us. And I know many, many, many of you are excited, and many of you just don't give a fuck and won't be watching. It is what it is. The choice is yours. Well, the biggest news thus far is the holdout of Aaron Donald, AD99, the star defensive tackle and last year's defensive player of the year for the St. Louis Rams. Los Angeles Rams. Damn, I forgot they moved that quick. Anyway, he's holding out because he wants a new deal, because he has drastically outplayed his rookie deal. So I don't blame him. LA, quit bullshitting, pay the man his money, and move the fuck on, because he deserved it. Other camp news comes from the Cleveland Browns, where Josh Gordon, Mr. Hey, smoke weed every day himself, will not be in training camp, the beginning of training camp, first couple weeks, because of some undisclosed reason. Many have speculated that it has something to do with his previous problems with drugs and alcohol. Who knows? But whatever it is, I wish him the best, because he's a supreme talent, and I hope the brother gets it together and gets his money as well. Now, before I proceed, let me just say, fuck Jerry Jones. One more time. Fuck Jerry Jones. I made a post on the Black with No Chaser page. Like and follow, by the way. Share. And what I did was just highlight the strikingly similar parallels and similarities between Jerry Jones and Benedict Orange, and how interconnected they are, and how the Dallas Cowboys, which has referred to itself as America's team, really is living up to that top billing because of Jerry Jones's antiquated thought process. Now, many of you have read the story, heard the stories, seen the stories of the NFL backtracking on this kneeling stance, and Jerry pretty much said, fuck what y'all talking about. You motherfuckers is gonna toe the line. You gonna stand out there. You don't even have the option of staying in the locker room. Now, right or wrong, it's his team. I personally don't agree with it. Why create a problem when there is none? Especially with the fact that none of his players kneeled last year. None. So he is just doing, the bidding of his orange-hued dickhead friend in the alt-White House. So, one more time. Fuck Jerry Jones. In other sports news, U.S. swimmer and scourge of the Rio Olympics, Ryan Lochte, has been banned 14 months for violating an anti-doping rule. He posted a photo of himself receiving IV fluids on social media in May, and it prompted a USADA investigation. They say the six-time Olympic champion fully cooperated with the investigation that was launched because of this picture. And they found that he had received an intravenous infusion of permitted substances at an infusion clinic in a volume greater than 100 milliliters in a 12-hour period without a therapeutic use exemption. So what it is that these types of infusions are violations of the anti-doping rules unless they occur in the course of medical treatment, even if the substance itself is not banned. So basically, this nigga told on himself. You big dummy. So he will be suspended until July of 2019, and he will try to, repair his legacy in the Tokyo Olympics. He's trying to shoot for the Tokyo Olympics because, he's tarnished himself and tarnished his brand and lost a bunch of sponsors from what he did at the Rio Olympics, in which he disgraced himself, and the USA, which it disgraces itself thanks to Benedict Orange anyway. But they accused somebody of robbing him at gunpoint when in actuality he was drunk as shit and they tore up somebody's store. So Ryan Lochte has to sit his ass down for being stupid once again. In a little bit of NBA news, Carmelo Anthony was recently bought out, traded by OKC to the Atlanta Hawks, where they proceeded to buy him out. So he's expected, if he hadn't already done it by now, to sign with the Houston Rockets for the vets minimum. So now you got Carmelo with the beard with fucking Chris Paul. And I bet you that nigga won't be healthy again this playoffs. Fuck Chris Paul. Anyways, he's expected to sign with the Rockets with the hopes of getting deep into the playoffs, actually getting a championship. And with this team, they may be able to do it if Chris Paul can stay healthy. But we got a while for that, so we'll get into that later on down the line. And finally, in a sad bit of news, former Miami Hurricanes running back, 5-star high school running back, Tyrone Moss, died Thursday night at the age of 33, which was I found out through a tweet from the school's athletic department. The cause of death was initially unclear, but it said that he had been dealing with unspecified medical issues. I also saw that it was pneumonia, so I really don't know. I'll keep an eye on it. Any new information comes through, I'll let you guys know. Well, that's pretty much it for sports this week. We'll catch you next week. I just want to take this moment to thank everybody for tuning in to another episode of Shade and Shit Talking. I really appreciate the love, the encouragement, the support. Big shout out to my boy, my brother, CJ Lawrence, and the rest of the Black with No Chaser family. I appreciate you stopping by, blessing us with your knowledge, your insight, and your thoughtfulness as always. I also want to send a big shout out to my boy, my cousin, James Betts, and the movement that he's creating with Sip Culture. I implore you all to check it out right now on Sundays, Facebook Live, 8 p.m. Soon to be on Tuesdays during football season because, you know, niggas ain't gonna stop watching. So make sure you check that out. That's Sip Culture, SIPP Culture. I also want to thank my cousin Caleb for blessing me with this fire-ass beat for my intro, for my outro. You know, my family's been showing me love. Paramount Production and Design did my logo. You know, that's family. Everybody's supporting, getting behind what I'm trying to do, and I appreciate all of that. Also, before I forget, let me send a huge shout out to the Unapologetic Geek for the support, for the shout out, for the shares. Also, the Negro Justice League podcast and blog. Make sure y'all check them out on Facebook and the various platforms that they're on. They're very, very entertaining, very thought-provoking, well-written pieces. You know, showing that black love, so we try to reciprocate that. For my Mississippi folks, you know, we always buy black. We try to shop, you know, black. So make sure you go check out in Midtown, Southern Colonel's Popcorn. Eat popcorn, be happy. Twilly Philly, Fairless Wings. You know, just everybody who's putting in work, you know, creating jobs for our people, you know, creating opportunities for our people. You know, we spend money with each other, keep that dollar circulating through the community, take it back to Tulsa, Black Wall Street, let that dollar circulate 36 to 100 times before it leave. That's what we need. That's how we grow. As always, I thank you all. I appreciate you all. I love you all. And I just can't say enough about all the encouragement that I've been receiving. Make sure you look us up on Black with No Chaser on Facebook. Find us on Instagram at Black with No Chaser and on Twitter, Black No Chaser. You can also find this podcast on my website, www.shadeandshittalking.podbean.com, as well as the various podcasting platforms, Google, iTunes, Overcast, Pocket Cast, as well as many others. Now, this episode is dedicated to Nia Wilson, her sister Latifah Wilson, and the entire Wilson family. And it just goes to shows us how quick things can change, how precious life is, and it also shows us how dirty the lens is that they view black people. So y'all take care of each other, and I'll see you next week.
Oh, thank you.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.